She kept sneaking into her neighbor's backyard, sipping wine by the pool like she owned the place, until one swim left her stained, reeking, and humiliated for days. Monica Daniels had worked too hard to deal with this nonsense. At 48, she finally had the home she dreamed of, something that wasn't handed to her but built through years of dedication, long nights, and an unshakable drive. A sleek, modern house in Scottsdale, Arizona, surrounded by tall privacy hedges, with a pool that shimmered under the sun like a slice of paradise. It was hers, every square inch of it, but somehow her entitled neighbor had decided otherwise. It started off small. A misplaced towel here, a wine glass on the patio there. At first, Monica thought maybe the landscapers had left something behind, or a gust of wind had carried a stray item over from next door. But then she started noticing wet footprints near the edge of the pool, ones that weren't hers. That's when reality set in. Someone had been using her pool. The first time she caught a glimpse, it was early in the morning. Monica was sipping her coffee, scrolling through emails, when she glanced out the window and nearly dropped her cup. A woman was stretched out on one of her lounge chairs like she was at a resort, sunglasses on, flipping through a magazine. The audacity! Monica yanked open the back door, her voice sharp. "Excuse me, what the hell are you doing?" The woman didn't even flinch. She turned her head lazily, lifted her sunglasses, and smirked. "Oh, hey, I didn't think you'd mind. It's just so hot today." Monica's blood boiled. She had seen her around before, waving stiffly in passing, but they had never had an actual conversation. Yet here she was, sprawled out on her property, acting like this was some kind of shared amenity. "I do mind," Monica snapped. "This is my house, my pool. You need to leave." The woman sighed dramatically, like a teenager being asked to do chores. All right. No need to be hostile." She picked up her things with no urgency at all, like she was doing Monica a favor by leaving. Monica watched her walk back to the house next door. That was the first time she learned her name, Allison Callahan. But Allison leaving that day didn't mean anything, because 2 days later, she was back. Monica came home from running errands and immediately spotted a half-empty bottle of rosé on the side table by the pool, condensation still fresh. And those same wet footprints trailed across the deck. Her patience snapped. This wasn't some innocent misunderstanding. Allison knew exactly what she was doing. That night, Monica marched over and rang her neighbor's doorbell, arms crossed, jaw set. When Allison opened the door, she had the nerve to look surprised. "Oh, hi, what's up?" "You know exactly what's up," Monica shot back. "I don't know what kind of entitlement makes you think my backyard is yours, but it stops now." Allison chuckled, like this was all some joke. "Oh, come on, it's just a pool. It's not like I'm hurting anything." Monica exhaled sharply, choosing her words carefully. "You don't seem to understand boundaries, so let me make this crystal clear. Stay out of my yard." A flicker of annoyance crossed Allison's face, but she raised her hands in mock surrender. Fine, message received. But Monica wasn't naive. That fake apology? It meant nothing. And sure enough, the next time Monica left for work, she came home to a damp lounge chair and an empty wine glass, like a slap in the face. This wasn't just disrespect anymore. It was a challenge. And Monica Daniels was not about to lose. Monica Daniels had dealt with all kinds of people in her life. Colleagues who took credit for her ideas, bosses who underestimated her, strangers who assumed things about her before she even opened her mouth. She knew how to handle herself. But this was new. Allison Callahan wasn't just trespassing. She was taunting. At first, Monica tried to handle it the way any reasonable person would. She put up a private property, no trespassing sign right by the pool gate, as if the 6-foot hedge wasn't clear enough. But that didn't work. The next time she came outside, the sign was face down in the grass, like someone had knocked it over on purpose. Okay, fine. Maybe Allison didn't see it. So Monica went one step further. She installed a lock on the gate leading to the backyard. Simple, direct. Problem solved, or so she thought. A few days later, Monica pulled into her driveway after a long day at work. The summer heat still clung to the air, and she was already picturing herself kicking off her shoes, pouring a glass of wine, and unwinding for the evening. But then she saw it. Through the slats of the backyard fence, a flash of movement. Monica's grip tightened on her car keys. No way. She stormed around the side of the house, flung open the gate. And there she was, Allison, floating in the pool. She had the audacity to look relaxed, her arms stretched along the edge of the water, face tilted toward the sun like she was on vacation. An empty wine bottle sat on the side table next to Monica's favorite glass, one she hadn't even taken out of the cabinet in weeks. Monica's pulse pounded in her ears. "Are you out of your damn mind?" Allison peeled one eye open, then sighed as if Monica had just interrupted something important. "Oh, hey, didn't hear you come in." "Of course you didn't, because you're not supposed to be here." Allison pushed herself up to sit on the pool ledge, wringing out her hair like she had all the time in the world. "Relax, Monica, it's just a pool." That phrase again. Monica took a slow, measured breath. She was so close to losing it, but she refused to give Allison the satisfaction. "This is the last time I'm going to say this. Stay out of my yard. Stay out of my pool. If you step foot here again, I'm calling the police." That should have been enough, right? But Allison? She laughed. Laughed, like Monica was being dramatic, like this was a game. "You wouldn't call the cops on me. That'd be a little extreme, don't you think?" Monica's patience snapped. "Try me." She pointed at the gate. Allison hesitated for half a second before standing, dripping water onto the pavement and grabbing her towel. But instead of leaving, she walked right up to Monica, too close, too smug. "You know, you should really learn to share," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. "Not everyone is as lucky as you." Monica's fingers curled into fists. "Get out." For a moment, Allison just stood there. Then, with a lazy smirk, she slung the towel over her shoulder and strolled out of the yard like she had won something. Monica didn't move until she heard the click of the gate shutting behind her. She locked it. Deadbolt, chain, everything. Then she went inside, pulled up her phone, and ordered security cameras. Because this wasn't over. But Allison had no idea what was coming next. The security cameras arrived 2 days later. Monica wasted no time setting them up. One pointed directly at the pool, another covering the gate entrance, and a third watching the back patio. If Allison even breathed near her yard again, Monica would have proof. But the real test came that weekend, Saturday afternoon. Monica had plans, a spa day, a nice dinner afterward, anything to take her mind off the entitled neighbor who seemed determined to push her buttons. She locked her gate, double-checked the cameras, and left, telling herself there was no way Allison would be bold enough to try again. She was wrong. That evening, Monica came home, kicked off her sandals, and checked the security footage on her phone. And there it was. Allison, clear as day, walking right through the side yard at noon, towel in hand, like she owned the place. She didn't just go for a swim, she had a whole event. Floating on a pool lounger, sipping wine, flipping through a magazine. For nearly 2 hours, Monica stared at the screen in disbelief. It was so blatant, so casual, like Allison knew she could get away with it. And then, as if that wasn't enough, the final insult. Before she left, Allison lifted her wine glass, tilted it toward the camera, and smirked. That was it. That was the moment Monica saw red. She grabbed her keys, marched next door, and pounded on the door so hard the porch light flickered. It took a few seconds before the lock clicked, and there stood Allison Callahan, dressed in her silk robe, still drying her damp hair with a towel. She had the nerve to look amused. "Oh, hey, what's up?" Monica was done. "You think this is funny?" She shoved her phone in Allison's face, replaying the footage. You broke into my yard. Again. Allison glanced at the screen, unbothered. Oh, relax, Monica. I was just cooling off. You were trespassing. Allison rolled her eyes. Oh, come on. It's not that serious. It is to me. Monica cut her off, voice like steel. You knew I didn't want you there. You knew and you did it anyway. And then you had the nerve to smirk at my camera? Allison shrugged. I was just having a little fun. Fun. Monica laughed, but there was no humor in it. All right, Allison, you want to play games. Let's play. She turned on her heel and walked away before she did something that would land her in jail. But as she reached her front door, she made a promise to herself. This would be the last time Allison Callahan trespassed on her property. Because next time there would be consequences, and Allison wouldn't be laughing. Monica didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, playing the footage over and over in her head. The smirk, the wine glass, the way Allison acted like Monica's property was some public resort. Enough was enough. By sunrise, Monica had a plan. A foolproof, harmless, but humiliating plan. She made a quick trip to the local pool supply store, where she picked up a few essentials, a strong food-grade dye, and a harmless but pungent liquid designed for prank purposes. The store clerk gave her a curious glance as she checked out, but she just smiled. Back home, she mixed just the right amount into the pool water. It was invisible to the eye, wouldn't damage the filtration system, and most importantly, it clung to skin and hair for hours. The moment Allison got in, she'd wear the evidence like a badge of shame. And then, Monica waited. Saturday rolled around, hot, humid, the perfect day for a swim. Monica left for the afternoon, just like before, making sure to park down the street instead of in her driveway, so Allison would think she wasn't home. Then she pulled up the security feed on her phone and watched. It didn't take long. By noon, Allison crept through the side yard, towel, sunglasses, and a fresh bottle of rosé in hand. She didn't even hesitate. Didn't check if Monica was home. Just waltzed right in, set down her things, and slipped into the water like it was hers. And then, Monica smiled, because within minutes, it happened. Allison, still floating on a pool lounger, sat up with a frown. She looked down at her arms, sniffed the air. Something wasn't right. Then she screamed. A deep, inky stain was spreading across her chest, arms, and hair, clinging to her like an oil slick. But worse? The smell. The moment the liquid made contact with her skin, it released a scent so sharp, so foul, like rotten eggs and skunk spray had a baby. Allison gagged. She scrambled out of the pool, slipping and stumbling, tripping over her own feet as she tried to grab her towel. But the stink didn't wash off. The dye didn't fade. Monica, watching from her car down the street, took her time pulling into the driveway. She stepped out, arms crossed, as Allison frantically wiped at her skin. Something wrong? Monica called out, voice calm. Allison whipped around, furious. What did you do? Monica tilted her head. Oh, me? Nothing. You must have used some cheap sunscreen. Allison was fuming. Hair soaked, arms stained dark, still reeking to high heaven. She stormed past Monica, shoving past the gate, not even stopping to grab her wine. And Monica? She just smiled, watching her go, because Allison Callahan had finally learned her lesson. But the real fallout was yet to come. Allison Callahan did not take embarrassment well. By the time she reached her front door, the damage was done. The dye had settled into her skin, clinging to every pore. Her once blonde hair had taken on a sickly, unnatural hue, and the stench, God, the stench, followed her like a cloud. She wrenched the door open, slamming it shut behind her. But Monica wasn't done watching. She leaned against her fence, arms crossed, enjoying the moment. Then, just as she turned to head inside, she heard it, a scream, a real, guttural, horrified scream. Monica whipped around. Through Allison's open window, she could hear muffled shouting, frantic footsteps, something crashing to the floor. Allison had seen herself in the mirror. Monica stifled a chuckle. The security cameras caught everything. First, Allison burst back outside, phone in hand, dialing like her life depended on it. Monica couldn't hear the conversation, but she could imagine how it went. 911? Yes, I'd like to report an attack. Pause. No, I wasn't physically attacked, but I was poisoned or doused in something. My whole body is stained. And the smell, oh my God, the smell. Another pause. Then Allison's face twisted in outrage. No, I wasn't trespassing. What does that have to do with anything? Monica actually had to bite her lip to keep from laughing. A few minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. 2 officers stepped out, one of them holding a notepad, already exhausted. Monica, ever the responsible homeowner, met them at the fence before Allison could start spinning her story. Officers, Monica greeted with a small nod. I'm assuming this is about my neighbor? One of them sighed. Ma'am, she claims you poisoned her? Monica arched an eyebrow. Does she look poisoned, or does she look like someone who swam in a pool she wasn't invited into? The officer glanced at Allison, who was still scrubbing her arms with a rag, muttering angrily. Monica folded her arms. Would you like to see my security footage? The moment the officers saw the clear-as-day footage of Allison sneaking in, slipping into the pool, and then practically marinating in her own arrogance, the situation flipped. One officer turned to Allison, expression flat. Ma'am, you do realize you were trespassing? Allison scoffed. Oh, please, it's a pool, not a bank vault. The officer's eyebrow twitched. It's private property. The second officer, who had been quiet, closed his notebook. Technically, she could press charges. The color drained from Allison's face. What was left of it under the dye, anyway. She turned to Monica, wild-eyed. You wouldn't. Monica tilted her head, pretending to consider it. Maybe not today. But if you ever step foot in my yard again, you'll be explaining yourself to a judge. The officers exchanged a look. One of them tapped his pen against his notebook. Sounds fair. I suggest you listen to her, ma'am. Allison huffed, crossing her arms like a spoiled child. But she didn't argue, because she knew. This time, she had actually lost. And Monica Daniels? She had never felt more victorious. By the time the officers left, Allison Callahan was officially defeated. No smug smirk. No sarcastic comments, just silence. Monica watched from her porch as Allison stormed back inside, slamming the door shut so hard it rattled the window panes. But even through the glass, Monica could hear it. The furious ranting, the sound of drawers opening and closing, the rush of water as Allison desperately tried to scrub the evidence away. But that was the beauty of Monica's little trick. The dye wouldn't come off easily. It would take multiple washes, maybe even a salon visit to strip it from her hair completely. And the stench? That would linger for at least a day. Monica let out a slow, satisfied sigh. Justice. And just as she was about to head inside for the night, her phone buzzed, a notification from the security app. She glanced down, expecting another motion alert, but instead it was a clip, one from just 10 minutes ago. Curious, she tapped play. The grainy footage showed Allison peeking out her window, scanning the street. Then, looking completely unhinged, she grabbed a trash bag full of what looked like towels and clothes and stuffed them into the bin outside, practically gagging as she did it. Monica laughed. She had officially broken her. And the best part? Allison never stepped foot in Monica's yard again. The next week was blissfully quiet. No wet footprints, no wine glasses left behind, no entitled neighbor lounging in Monica's pool like she owned the place. Monica went about her days without a single worry. Every time she passed by her backyard, she felt that same swell of pride, not just in her home, but in the fact that she stood up for herself. Then, about a week later, she was watering her plants when she spotted a moving truck. At first, she thought nothing of it, but then she saw who was standing on the porch, arms crossed, barking orders at the movers. Allison. Monica's lips parted in surprise. She was leaving? She stayed where she was, watering can in hand, watching as the movers hauled furniture out of the house. Allison, still looking bitter as ever, was on her phone, pacing back and forth, her once blonde hair now a slightly orange-tinged mess. Monica bit back a smirk. Good. She never got the full story, whether Allison had already planned to move or if the humiliation had been too much to bear. But either way, Monica didn't care, because at the end of the day, one thing was clear. Monica won. Entitlement has a way of blinding people. Allison truly believed she could do whatever she wanted, that rules didn't apply to her. That Monica's silence meant weakness. She was wrong. There's a fine line between being kind and being a doormat. Monica had tried, time and time again, to set boundaries. She was patient, she was reasonable, but when someone refuses to respect you, you have every right to make sure they never forget your name. And Allison? She would remember Monica for the rest of her life. What would you have done in Monica's situation? Would you have gone even further, or would you have handled it differently? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. Because sometimes the best revenge is just making sure they never come back.